Меня укусила акула, когда я стоял в океане, но я оставался спокоен, терпел, закончил работу. Потом прибежали ребята, и эта акула узнала, что значит румяные парни из третьей ремонтной бригады. Аквалангисты — это хорошо, да, и взрослые знают, и дети, мы радость творим на планете. Аквалангисты — это не игра. Сиреневым пламенем дышат большие кирпичные домны. Противник на нашу погибель готовит подводные лодки. Но мы тоже люди, не проба. Мы прячемся в черные дыры. У нас есть такие приборы, но мы вам про них не расскажем. Аквалангисты — это хорошо, да, и взрослые знают, и дети, мы радость творим на планете. Аквалангисты — это не игра. Когда мы выходим на берег, то девочки радостно стонут, и мы начинаем рассказывать про разные трудности моря. Но хватит, забыла сирена, и мы быстро прыгаем в воду. Мы жить не привыкли на суше, мы любим нырять и купаться. Аквалангисты — это хорошо, да, и взрослые знают, и дети, мы радость творим на планете. Аквалангисты знали, подпевали и плясали, эй! Пока пустая рука. Когда пополнится карман, бармен надует бока. Бокал вина, семена для пива и чуть-чуть текилы. После водка, селедка, вот дурацкие поводки. Только мелочь не в ходу, только крупные купюры. Бабы, бабы не дуры, бабы берегут фигуры. Бабы, бабы не дуры, бабы берегут фигуры. Бабы, бабы не дуры, бабы берегут фигуры. Музыку давай, а зажигай, музыкант. Да такую, чтоб все знали, подпевали и плясали, эй!
Alright, and on that note, I think we can begin. So, good evening, afternoon, or whatever time of the day it is in your part of the planet, and welcome to our stream. I say our because tonight I'm going to be joined by a friend of mine. You may now say hello, Carmine.
Hello, world.
Yeah, looks like you are heard on stream as well. Perfect. Now, do not exactly remember whether you've been at previous New York games, specifically Coteries of New York and Shadows of New York, but hopefully Reckoning of New York won't be too difficult for you to follow. If not, I'll be able to provide you with a quick rundown in case the game won't do that. Now let's see whether software will capture it. So one moment. Okay. Looks like it is. Let's just make it a little quieter because it is very loud. This should be fine. So far, I'm not seeing any recap options. Well, maybe there will be once we start the new game. If not, as mentioned, I will be there to provide it. And looks like just in the first game we have the option to choose our protagonist. Well, for now the only choice we have is Kali of the Ravnas clan. My sire's gone AWOL and I've got no clue why. It sucks, but hey, I'm a raven. When things get dicey, I go with my gut. Right now it's telling me just to keep searching. It has let me down so far, it won't start now, right? Our second protagonist will be unlocked once we go through with Kali. Looks like there will be other RPG elements as well, just like in Shadows of New York. We've got 2 points to spend and 3 disciplines to choose from. Cannibalism, Obfuscate, and Presence. Personally, I am leaning more towards Obfuscate and Presence, but what about you?
Is it possible to double dip in a single discipline?
Yes, I think it will be possible.
Yeah, I would either also go with Obfuscate and Presence or double dip in Obfuscate.
Yeah, looks like it's not possible to double dip, so we'll go with Obfuscate and Presence. Other parameters, Hunger on, and Hunter Threat on as well. Hunter Threat looks like another new addition, because previously any encounters with Second Inquisition were strictly scripted. And let's jump
Oh,
right in.
this is V5 era?
Most likely, yes. Or at least 20th anniversary. Okay then. Night 1, the beginning. December 2024. 7 nights till New Year. Almost there. The Angela Bureau, if you can even call it that, feels more like a rough draft of an asteroid belt. Suggesting it's shabby almost gives it almost too much credit. Like there's some hidden allure to the mess, which there definitely isn't. Now, do you remember who is D'Angelo?
Uh, no, I'm not aware.
Alright, so D'Angelo is a private investigator of. Let me try to remember his clan. I think Nosferatu. He was with our player, part of our player character's coterie in the first game, and after that he helped us with our investigation into his disappearance in the second game. So he's a recurring character. His head is cocked thoughtfully, beady eyes piercing me right through. Does this acute interest stem from the matter I brought in, or does he simply enjoy watching me wriggling in this wretched chair? I'd asked why underneath the repulsive mask of his face I noticed something that looks a lot like fear, a detail I pocket for later. A strong, synthetic odor taints the still air. The world is moving forward, but the scrap reeks worse than your average smoke. And the way he squashes those mini cigs in the ashtray, it's clear D'Angelo's struggling to shake off old habits. Not that I want to throw stones, but he's quite the character. Useful, but infuriating too, at times. Like right now, for example. And there he is. Definitely looking worse for wear compared to his previous drawing styles. Let me just get this straight. You lost your sire, huh? I didn't lose him, you goof. He just never turned up to our meeting. Easy, Tiger, just trying to get the situation clear here. What's unclear about it? I went to our meeting spot and he wasn't there. That never happens. Reynard Castle has a knack for vanishing, though. Maybe he had to make himself scarce. Skip town. He'd have left me a clue for sure. I still relying on those mole tags, the hobo code and all but not. Also note that yes, unlike in previous games where he smoked mini cigs, here he is with an electronic cigar. Also a couple of glossary terms for those that are unaware. We've got Sire, a vampire's begetter, the kindred who brought them into undead existence, and Cryptolect, a specific cipher unique to each Ravnos band that lets them communicate in code. Kali's coterie employs a modified hobo code, distinguished by the addition of 3 lines over a dot, allowing only those in the know to understand the message behind the altered symbols. Little Chandler here has totally been killing it lately. I mean, I might have casually mentioned the code once or twice, but nothing major. Well, alright, maybe I showed him a symbol. Well, it pretty much is useless on its own. If Reynard catches wind of me spilling the beans, he's gonna flip. He's like Fort Knox when it comes to our secrets. We do, and I found absolutely zilch. Which does not happen, by the way. We never bail on each other when we split up for stuff like this. It's just too dangerous. Maybe he didn't have a chance to leave a trail. Where were you two supposed to rendezvous? I think we can tell him. He's a good man. Coney Island, just a few blocks off the Wonder Wheel. He nods, utterly unsurprised, and I feel my hackles rise. You knew already? I had a hunch, but thanks for telling me either way. Maybe dropping by D'Angelo's wasn't such a great plan. Or maybe he's not as useless as I assumed. But he's definitely got me on edge. I shoot him a skeptical glance, but he appears to be elsewhere, lost in his own thoughts. His lips move silently, almost like he's whispering a prayer. D'Angelo has a habit of mumbling to himself when he is in the investigating mood. So we'll just maybe try to listen in, as the game gives us that option. I strain my ears and finally catch a few words. D'Angelo, distress, entered his dimly lit office. Lost in the urban jungle with nowhere to go, she turned to the only person she could trust. Detective extraordinaire, Gianni D'Angelo. But neither of them foresaw the storm brewing, ready to shake the world to its core. I'll skip over your noir wet dreams, but what's the deal with the storm? Don't worry about it. The way he says it really makes me worry about it, but I brush it off. So you made your way to Coney Island, but came up empty-handed. No castle, no trail to follow, anything noteworthy at all? Just your typical shady assholes loitering around, clearly up to something. Pretty standard for New York City, as far as I'm aware. Shady assholes? Who, Kindred? Regular folks, I think. All twitchy and restless. He furrows his brow, nodding slowly, but seems more in mourning than deep in thought. When he finally speaks, it's not at all what I was expecting to hear. To be frank, Callie, I'm running short on answers. Your sire seems just temporarily unavailable. Or gone for good. Or something else. Can't say I'm entirely shocked. What do you mean I forgot the ping? Thought the ping that I did 4 hours ago was enough. Turns out it's not. Anyway, grumble, grumble, grumble. And welcome, as always. He tries to stroll around nonchalantly, but the mess in his bureau just as nonchalantly throws him off balance. It completely ruins his noir vibe, so I shoot him a cheeky grin. Making character must have rattled him good. If I were you, I'd take a leaf out of his book and disappear. Pronto. In fact, that's exactly what I intend to do once I'm through with my business in the city. I unpocket the fear I observed a moment ago and give D'Angelo another good lasting look. He's genuinely terrified, like seriously scared. But there's this hint of desperation too. I've got to tame my inner con artist, who's practically salivating in my head. Just waiting to join in. But when things go south, D'Angelo's the buddy you stick with, not somebody you ditch and forget. Gianni, seriously, what's up? I'm kind of freaking out here. There are too many loose ends to stitch together to a complete tale, and frankly, it's too lengthy to just one night anyway. There's a storm gathering in the city. I've been through some rough patches, but this feels like a whole different kind of trouble. Cut the cryptic shit just for once. He looks over my shoulder, lost in thought, like he's figuring out how to drop an anchor on someone who's already drowning. Arcade has been dropping like flies lately. Nobody seems to be a specific target, but it's hitting mostly Duskborn. Duskborn in this case being... Oh. I gotta remember. Duskborn would be Thin Bloods. But yeah, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just going to say that you can just hover over.
The Corps dubs it the culling of Thin Bloods. Real knee slapper they've got, those sons of guns. But there's been other victims too. The chill runs down my dead spine. Here's the sad reality. New York City has never been as dangerous for Kindred as it is these nights. Are the sects seriously at each other's throats that hard? Same old song and dance, right? But this time there's a curveball. I have to make him halt the hostilities and... You know what? I'll fill you in while we hit the road. The urge to flee slams into me like a freight train. There's something about his tone that almost convinces me to hightail it out of the city. but it's not quite time to make a break for it. I might stick around for a while, so... D'Angelo's visibly concerned. Should I be worried too? And I really gonna let him go, huh? Of course not. I'll find Reynard, come hell or high water. Besides, someone has to handle detective duty, since, judging by how desperately you want me to drive you out of town, damsel in distress is already taken. D'Angelo tilts his head downward and with just enough to fix his crooked smile. A smile abandoned by joy long ago. Almost like the expression. I know you well enough to not even bother trying to change your mind, but you have a knack for diving headfirst into trouble, so hear me out. Keep your head down, stay off the radar, don't feed willy-nilly, and above all, don't reveal your true nature unless you're 100% sure nobody can see you. So, the masquerade, basically. I'm not joking, Kali. Keep low, or else... Yeah, thanks for the tip. I rose to my feet and waved goodbye as I head out the door. I'll grab you once I've found Reynard. On my own, since you've been such a big help. It takes me a while to actually notice the air around me, crisp and clear, without the ever-present stench of D'Angelo's nicotine habit. I find it's taking me longer each time to catch on. When will I reach the point where I don't notice it anymore? Reynard's silence and the total lack of hints about his whereabouts bug me way more than I'm ready to say out loud. The streets are deserted. It's like everyone vanished, scared off by the winter chill that mortals seem to hate. The darkness of the night, lit up by bursts of color, is kinda beautiful in a bleak urban way. But my sire is gone, I don't know what to do. Back at D'Angelo's, I was all talk, swearing that I'd track down Reynard myself or burn up trying. Pretty sure he saw right through my BS. Were I half as confident as I pretended, I wouldn't feel so utterly lost. In late December, in the big fucking dangerous apple of all places. If D'Angelo's warning have any weight, maybe it's time to bulk up our supplies. Our coterie? Let's just say we're big on being ready for anything. Well, good for you. Reynard's the mastermind behind all our safety nets, making sure we don't even brush close to failure. His obsessive preparedness has pulled us out of the fire more than once. Whenever we're running on our gigs, we've got these spots stocked up with goods and, let's call it personal protection. One of those hidden caches lies just around the block, if I remember right. It's been ages, but that's probably the first place I should hit up before I go hunting for Reynard. Better safe than in a grave, right? And there's our choices. Precautionary measures, that's a detour, and 2 main quest spots. Square 1, Coney Island, or Square 1, the RV. Up for a detour first?
I mean, sure, why not?
And there it is. Precautionary measures. Survival is the game we all play, or so Reynard always preached to our gang. That's why we stash supply caches all over. If D'Angelo's warnings hold water, grabbing some supplies might actually come in handy. Great. Just fucking great. Looking over the wreckage of what used to be my secret stash, I can't stop the flood of swears. Whoever the hell found it, they cleared it out completely. They didn't even have the courtesy to leave a "my bad for the raid" note. It wasn't a treasure trove or anything, just an old combat knife, a bulletless revolver, and some jewelry I was planning to pawn off for far less than what they're worth. I get why they take that stuff, but seriously, what's anyone gonna do with a cooler full of expired blood bags? Could this have been the work of one of our kind? After what D'Angelo said, it doesn't seem too far-fetched. Fuck. Whoever they are, they'd better hope I don't find them first. Stepping back into the streets, the harsh reality hits me. My gear is history, and no amount of complaining is going to magically bring it back. Believe me, I tried. Well, we're off to a good start, it seems. But then again, maybe I'm just being paranoid. D'Angelo has a thing for urban legends and slapping conspiracy theories onto pretty much anything. Why should this time be any different? It's Christmas after all. Around these parts, looting is practically a holiday tradition. Heh. As I'm coming to terms with my situation and thinking about what to do next, I get that weird feeling. It's like my inner alarm system is giving me a nudge, telling me something's off. A quick look behind me confirms it. Yep, I got followers. And not just one, but two. Finally, I'm hitting my social media milestones. Hey, topical. And yes, our threat level has just increased. My gut tells me to move faster, and I find myself darting into a barely lit alleyway, disappearing into the shadows. I press myself against the cold bricks and wait. That's when I catch it. A high-pitched voice filled with endless babble. Her words cut through the air, harsh and acidic. She's talking about me, and it's far from flattering. It was her! The freak draped in all that drab gray! I haven't told ya! Drab gray? Who the hell does she think she is? I need to get a look at them. Girl, we come back empty-handed for the third time and we're fucking cooked! Well, she looks kinda cute in a survivalist way. Oh, fuck her, a cheap-ass forest ranger getup. The nerve to diss my look. I guess we agree to disagree, Callie. Why are they even after me anyway? Good question. The one making all the noise is fidgeting non-stop like a squirrel high on candy, muttering something I can't make out. It's clear planning impromptu actions isn't her strong suit. The other one seems timid, obviously wishing she was anywhere but here. I'd find the whole scene hilarious under different circumstances, but I've got bigger fish to fry than this low-budget Permanent Midnight remake. Okay, we can either wait or use some of our disciplines. Either Daunt or Unseen Passage. It is tempting considering our hunger meter looks alright for now. But we might need to feed soon. Your call?
Honestly, I'm kind of curious what she'll do.
Well, D'Angelo did tell us to be spare, so how about we just wait a little longer? Still, she might let something slip that's actually worth hearing. If hanging around Reynard has taught me anything, is that there's no such thing as useless intel. The loud one suddenly steps in front of her buddy, shoving her aside pretty harshly. Go look around the corner. I'll check things out here. That bitch is gonna be nearby. Buzz me on radio if anything pops up. With a noticeable lack of enthusiasm, the other girl drags herself away, letting out a sigh of relief, clearly glad to dodge this mess even if just for a bit. The moment she's out of sight, the loudmouth digs into her pocket and, after a moment of fumbling, takes a loud snort of something. Well, that sheds some light on her jitterness. Cocaine. Too bad she's now blocking my only way out of this alley. But, from what I can tell, no one's watching. I guess we're gonna take our opportunity on this one, huh? Even though there is drugs in the blood, that's gonna make for a fun experience.
I was just going to say that's only going to make it fun.
Yeah, and our threat level has increased. Lost in the fog of her own mind, she does not see me coming. I pounce, locking her in a firm grip, yet she barely tries to escape. You were looking for me. Well, here I am. The moment I bite into her, it's like being struck by a thunderbolt of sheer ecstasy, the cocaine spiked essence in her blood sending waves of frenzied joy through me. I'm surfing on the high of her intoxication, rediscovering a thrill I haven't felt in years. The sensation hits me instantly, like a tsunami flooding my senses, her wild, narcotic-charged life force blending with the primal hunger that defines my very being. I'm consuming more than just her blood. I'm feasted on her fears, her regrets, her hatred for me, engulfed in a storm of her most vivid experiences, a bond so profound that it feels almost sacrilegious. As the buzz wears off and I come back down, she crumples softly to the ground, still disoriented from our encounter. I hide her behind some trash cans, blending her into the scenery. Fingers crossed, yet another junkie snoozing in the streets won't alert anyone. Damn. It turns out D'Angelo wasn't just blowing smoke up my ass. But I've got places to be, things to handle. I just hope this didn't eat up too much time. Finding Reynard remains my top priority. I could go back to Coney Island and see if he turned up while I was gone. The possibility of berating him for thoughtlessness cracks me up, if only a little. Any notes? What was I even thinking? It's just peak naivety, counting on that useless gumshoe to track down Reynard. Better come up with a new game plan. As well as a couple of notes on the characters so far. There's Kali, dark web dealer. Because of course you are. We'll go over that a little later. Gianni D'Angelo, paranoid gumshoe, Nosferatu, and the Squeaker, rookie huntress. And yeah, I've got a...
D'Angelo is supposed to be a Nosferatu?
Yeah, I did tell you that D'Angelo is a Nosferatu. He's just not that ugly. There will be other, more uglier Nosferatu if I am thinking of the correct one. And yeah, I've got to move the RV before it draws too much attention, before some busybody develops an unwanted interest in it. But there's no
I
point
wouldn't
in...
even think of it looking at him, he just looks like a meth head.
Yeah, that was one of the points leveled against D'Angelo's design. But there's no point in driving into Coney Island when I can take the subway. So, what to do first? Do we drive the RV away, or do we go back to Coney Island? I'm personally leaning more towards getting the RV away. And
So far we have had not particularly good luck with leaving our things unattended.
so yeah. Sure, my RV is a fortress on wheels and all, but I better move it before it starts drawing too much attention. And if anything happens to our stash, well, I'd rather not dwell on that. Unless I want dodging Reynard to become my main focus instead of figuring out where he vanished. If anything happens to our stash, Reynard's going to skin me when he shows up. I happen to like my skin. Had it for as long as I can remember. Plus, it's not like he's facing his final death or anything. I think. New York really lives up to its rep as the city that never sleeps. People keep walking past, oblivious to the intensity of my gaze. The blood slowly coursing through their veins just beneath the surface of their skin tempts me in ways I cannot describe. You just fed, calm down. I force myself to look away. Not for the dregs of my immortality, but nor because I feel any grand respect for them. It's simpler than that. Too many eyes, too much risk, my crew's unspoken credo. As I approach the ruined parking lot where I've stashed my RV, I freeze. Shit. There's already a crowd milling around. Three of them. Maybe mortal, but kindred or ghouls are much more likely. Does what, random thieves suddenly get their hands itchy for an RV as old as mine? No, they must be Camarilla types, given where we are. I can feel my vitae starting to boil, but I play it cool. What's their interest in my RV? How'd they even find it? And more importantly, how do I get them to leave? And this time we're forced to use a discipline. This one is, let's see here, obfuscate. We either use chemistry to give them something to chase, or we use silence of death. Now they hear me, soon they won't. Leaning more towards creating a decoy for them to chase. All things considered. New round is suggesting silence, and your voice, Carmine?
What is the second option again?
We have chemistry and we have silence of death.
Yeah, I just don't remember what the second one is.
The second one, I'm guessing, will make us as silent as it gets.
I'm leaning towards chemistry. Chem
Chemistry.
chemistry with an R.
Mhm. Then we'll go with that one. Costs 2 pips of blood instead of 1, but it's gonna be good. Yep, their hunger goes up. I gesture subtly toward the far end of the lot and conjure up the loud, discordant sound of a garbage bin falling over, coupled with muffled curses and retreating steps. With luck, the prowlers will take the bait. They do. They carefully drop whatever they were holding and, one by one, cock their heads and prowl towards the source of the sound, moving away from my spot. This is my moment. I sneak over to my van, only to see it's been completely ransacked. Yeah, great luck on our end so far. They've wrecked it, digging through hidden compartments, flipping through confidential documents that won't reveal anything to them, spilling my meticulously stored blood and tossing my sparse furnishings onto the pavement. My home violated, ruined, done. Barely containing the wrath simmering just under my cold, undead skin, I force myself to calm down. I'll sneak into the driver's seat before my illusion fades away. Speeding off right under their noses is bold, maybe even a bit stupid. But, well, I follow my gut like I always do. It rarely fails me, but when it does, oh boy. I mean, I am Ravnos, right? The first idea that pops into my head is typically the winner. Speaking of, let's look at what delightful names they have for Ravnos vampires. Rogues, ravens, daredevils, the haunted. Oh, no vampiric slurs this time.
Aren't most Ravnas supposed to be like borderline in extinct?
They technically are. Ever since their patriarch woke up in India and technocracy fried them with the sun laser. And after that, the majority of them went insane, if I recall correctly. So yes, we do stand out. Just as I'm about to make my move toward the RV, I spot her. Actually, scratch that. It's my skin that reacts first, every hair standing on end as if electrocuted. An alarm blares in my head, screaming danger. Only then do I see her stepping smoothly out of the shadows, gait relaxed and yet somehow predatory. Leaving so soon, sugar? And that's another old friend of ours. I have no idea who she is, and I'm normally spot on at identifying those who prefer me finally dead. It's handy in my line of business. And that is a pretty big Camarilla shot. Practically on par with Sheriff, if I recall the hierarchy correctly. Yep, duty calls, and by duty I mean you can fuck right off. Choice words. She doesn't even blink at my quip and just keeps inching closer. I feel an urge to step back, but a quick side eye informs me that the prowlers have returned and are standing right behind me. I'm afraid you're gonna have to come with me. What, is this your Princess Parking spot or something? Because you know, this hardly looks like your domain. You're dressed a bit too fancy for these parts, lady. Her smile stretches wider, but it's devoid of any real humor or warmth. She's only steps away now, and I'm effectively trapped. Parking's hardly the concern, and I think you're not naive enough to think so. No, it's your extracurricular activities that have raised a few eyebrows. Somebody has been very naughty indeed. Extracurricular activities? You've lost me there. Oh, how she jests. I'm not going to run down the entire list of the Council's accusations, but incidentally, that's where I'm taking you right now. Who the hell are you, even? I'm Valerie Duval, sugar. The Scourge of New York. There's the term, Scourge. An executor subordinated directly to the sheriff, with a penchant for eliminating caitiffs and thin bloods. So yeah, she is the executioner. You can either accompany me without a fuss, or Well, let's just leave it at the first option. It's decidedly in your best interest. She gestures to one of the prowlers behind me, her henchman I guess, who brandishes hefty, sharpened stake. My throat tightens involuntarily. What the fuck does the council want with me? Our crew's business isn't all that against their precious traditions, is it? See, we're not part of the Camarilla. I'm not without reason, darling. You wanna move? We can, of course, deny everything. You got the wrong guy. But let's be at least courteous. Oh, it's my move, ain't it? Because from my viewpoint, all roads seem to end at the tip of that stake. Said tip jabs painfully against my back, right where my heart would be beating madly if it wasn't all shriveled up. Case in point. The council will undoubtedly release you following a meticulous inquiry, of course. This is your final chance. Alright, Jesus, I'll fucking go with you. Valerie tosses me a so-called smile, the sort that could turn the sun into ice. Good girl. Now come, the council is waiting. Judgment at the Elysium. Now I'm being slammed with some bullshit accusations and hauled to Elysium for interrogation. What the fuck? There's no way I'm playing along. Well, maybe I am, seeing as I'm about to go fang to fang with New York's Ivory Tower. There will be other familiar faces in there. So this is their joint. The Art Hole. Seriously, could they have picked a more pretentious spot? The Ivory Tower splinter has wedged itself right in the middle of New York City's swankiest row. Well, an art gallery for an Elysium is not exactly the worst choice, if I say so. Welcome to the still heart of the Camarilla's intricate machinations. Here's where the local kindred clink their glasses, all the while plotting each other's demise. Unless, of course, you're a pariah like me, an outcast from a wrong clan with an act for stirring up trouble, in which case you're screwed from the get-go. Honestly, I preferred not knowing how posh it is. Places like this don't exactly roll out the red carpet for someone who deals with my kind of stuff. But since I've got no immediate escape plans, might as well play along. I'd happily share it on principle, but gotta admit it seems pretty low-key on the outside. Not counting the two chuckling goons who clearly missed the memo and blend in with the crowd. And on that note, is there a giggly-worthy revelation you'd care to share with me, Birdie? Your demeanor hints a job well done, does it not? The awkward freeze frame those two are stuck in would be comedy gold if it wasn't knee-deep in my own mess. Oh, yeah, Miss Duval, sir. I mean, not really anything too wild, you know? Just like the usual stuff we're seeing, I guess. Does this usual stuff include dubious characters within a mile's reach of Elysium? Groups for which you were specifically instructed to watch out. 3 of them, to be exact, if my count holds true. Wonder who those are. I guess we'll find out as the game progresses. 3 groups of what? Honestly, I didn't spot a thing. Then again, maybe I'm just not clued in on what to look out for. They literally say, let her cook. Something tells me this is the better option. Let Valerie cook. I mean, I apologize. We already should have... Yes, you really should have. Boy, that shot through him like an icy bullet. I wasn't exactly cozy myself, but that poor sod probably just shed the last ounce of warmth left in him. Return to your duties at once. I'll be expecting a detailed report within the next hour. Yes, Miss Duval, sir. He waddles off like a scolded kid and his pal refuses to meet our eyes. I throw Valerie a look of unwilling respect. She obviously holds some serious clout in these parts. Well, yeah, you obviously don't fuck with the executioners of the Camarilla. Especially considering Sheriff himself was a bit more cautious around her. Come now, dragging your feet earns you no favors. And believe me, you could use a few. Is that enough for Miss Duval? Her smile serves as enough of a silent veto to make it clear that prying any further is futile. Not exactly a good sign. She swings the door open, but there's no warm invitation in the gesture. The place does not quite live up to the posh art gallery image in my mind. Sure, there's a hint of what could be Basquiat on the walls, but most of the art is either shoved aside or covered up. It used to be much better in previous games. My instincts shift into overdrive. First up, a quick room survey. Escape routes, access points, or just look around. We'll go with take a look around. I might try to focus on something else, but the real show stealer is this stupidly massive table, littered with papers and a map of the 5 boroughs, spotted with enigmatic markers and chess pieces. 2 particular areas are heavy with pins, though their meaning is lost on me from this distance. Ah, so they've converted it into a war room. Vintage trunks are strewn about without a second thought, but what really grabs the eye is a lineup of wickedly curved swords, sending a faint memory of a shiver up my spine. Taking it all in, this place screams less art gallery and more war room. Oh, see? Exactly what I said. Step 2 practically unfolds on its own. The room's a powder keg of kindred in the middle of an intense debate. The tension is palpable, suspicion dialed up to 11. That's when their voices finally break through the walls of my focus. Wouldn't have been such an issue if we had taken action when the signs were so glaringly obvious. That long-haired hunk must be Kadir Al-Asmai, the Camarillas sheriff. I've had my fill of stories about him, but now I can put a face to the reputation. Oh, Kadir, how have they butchered your looks? If only the rest of us were blessed with your profound gift of foresight, Sheriff, and life would be a walk in the park. Oh, and you look decidedly human. Allow me to emphasize, our risks aren't limited to a single front. Acting on a gut feeling might work wonders in motion pictures. Here, in the real world, it is a different story. This one's a mystery to me, but the way he's navigating the conversation, he's clearly a heavyweight in these parts. Spoiler alert, that's Thomas Arturo, the puppet master of the Camarilla court in these parts. But you didn't hear it from me. The game told that to us at the end of Coteries of New York, and practically hinted at that in Shadows of New York. But once again, the main character does not know that. Spare me the pretense of ignorance, Arturo. The pattern was unmistakable well over a month ago. Now? Arturo. Thomas Arturo? Shit. Reynard explicitly told me to steer clear of this guy's mess. The bickering rages on and Valerie does not seem eager to reveal her catch, aka yours truly. Your playful decision to allow the Thin Bloods to appoint Larson as their primogen raises his final death to a level that can't be casually swept us under the rug. Helene, thin-blooded or not, it throws into question our grip on the situation. That gothed-out Ally McBeal? Definitely Aisling Sturbridge, the Tremere Regent. Yeah, I'd say the vampires in here definitely look more human than they used to in previous games. I've been curious if Reynard's operation extends into the local chantry, but he was, as always, tight-lipped about his private affairs. What would you have me do then? Unleash our dear sheriff without adequate reconnaissance just in the name of haste? We can't overlook his excessive efficacy in the last skirmish, can we? Oh god. Doesn't the prospect of a masquerade breach give you pause? My god, what a design. I really went all in on this one, huh? Behold the queen bee herself, Helene Panhard, the reigning prince of sticks up the ass. I figured we're all fond of keeping things the way they are. But there's times to just sit back and think, and then there's times when you gotta step up and do something bold. This feels like it's time to make a move. And that would be Torque. An anarch championing chaos. A revelation that somehow fails to astonish our esteemed Baron of the Bronx. An Anarch Baron inside Elysium? Now that's a plot twist. What's the deal here? As I continue to look around, another figure catches my eye. A young-looking woman, entirely decked out in black, casually playing with a cigarette. And let me guess who that is? Hey, that's our girl. Which means the bad ending of Shadows of New York is canon. You'll find out who that is in a minute. She shoots me a brief glance, clearly picking up on my curiosity. That ancient fart is in the wheelchair, whispering to his servant. Who's that? I'll need to remember, but he is also one of the big shots. Right as he's about to chime in, some lanky guy I totally missed till now decides to butt in. My apologies for interrupting, Mr. Payne, but it appears Miss Duval has brought forth the issue you mentioned earlier. It might be wise to ensure she is not exposed to unnecessary information. How did I overlook this guy? His own limbs and quirks playing with some odd ring on his finger. He sticks out in this upscale bunch like a sore thumb. Is my mojo on vacation or what? Yes, thank you for that shrewd observation, Caitiff. Monikers: the clanless, panders, orphans, trash, scum, freestylers. There's the slurs we've been looking for. She hurls those words like she's spitting venom. Whatever the opposite of sympathy is, she's brimming with that. Wait, Caitiff? Esteemed Council, I give you the troublesome Ravnos neonate. I gather you will desire a swift resolution to this matter, especially given her reluctance to cooperate. As if on cue, every eye shifts to me. I'm not one to buckle under stage fright, but this silent ostracism is on a whole new level. In this room, I'm on my own. I understand the formal necessity of addressing all this, as well as my role in the matter. However, there are more pressing concerns demanding attention. Far more pressing. Shall we discard all traditions too while we're at it? We've pirouetted around the Hudson problem for more than a year, yet progress remains as stale as our debate. Certainly, a few additional moments of honor to honor the very laws you spearhead so vigorously couldn't hurt, could they? The Hudson is a completely different beast, as you're well aware. We need to address the locust swarm engulfing New York before Camarilla's entire framework crumbles beneath its weight. And how does that sit with you, Payne? Just last night, 2 Duskborn and the fledgling from your clan were reduced to ashes, and we're still in the dark about who's pulling the strings. Shouldn't that worry you more than policing the purity of the red market? Old guy's servant steps forward, all awkward and frigid. In principle, I agree, Sheriff. However, should we continue to disregard even minor infractions, we broadcast a message of vulnerability. Vulnerability threatens our efforts within and beyond our borders, efforts we plan to carry on without interruption once the locust swarm, as you've termed it, is eradicated. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm inclined to agree with Gramps on this one. We can't simply let something like that slip through the cracks without taking proper measures. So, you've assumed the role of his advocate now? Quite the bold ascent up the ladder of your own making, Julia. What's next in the horizon? Another hostile... Enough! Enough already. An awkward silence falls over the room, but it seems more about customs than actual respect. Guess we're all just creatures of habit, undead or alive. The sheer theatrics of the situation gives me a moment to sneak a glance at the prince, the sheriff, or the old fart. I am personally leaning more towards the sheriff, because he is the voice of authority more than the prince in here, and the voice of reason. However, any other suggestions?
I kind of lost track who's new here and who's a returning character.
They're all returning characters. However, the prince and the sheriff were present since the first game, and the old fart has been present since the second game. Let's see if we have any information on who that was. Well, not in here yet. But I do remember that the old guy, that is Payne, was a primogen of one of the clans. I can't remember which one, however. So yeah, I am leaning towards the sheriff, and you?
Might as well.
Okay, then.
That or the old guy.
The sheriff's avoiding eye contact with me, which you typically read as weakness, but it's far from that. In fact, he's ice cold and focused. His gaze meeting mine might be the last thing I see before bidding farewell to my undead existence. But there is something deeper. He appears untamed, like a wolf in an ambush, perfectly still, yet poised to tear into anyone foolish enough to trigger his fury. When the prince finally manages to speak, her voice lacks the confidence you'd anticipate from someone at the helm. We are all here for the same reason you are, Aisling. Or am I mistaken and you forget where your loyalties lie? Classic Camarilla debacle. I am the prince you should obey. And everyone obeys, but everyone curses you under their breath. Even now, as she turns to me, her presence is weighed down. Not that I care. My head's on the chopping block, and she's the one calling the shots on whether it stays put or rolls off. Now, let's put this issue to rest here and now. Strive for brevity, Sheriff. Understood. The weight of his gaze is enough for me to lower my shoulders. Whatever comes, it's not gonna be pretty. Kali of Clan Ravnos, you stand accused of violating the New York Camarilla's praxis, infringing on the tradition of hospitality, and endangering the masquerade, among other things. Well, shit. Wait, on what grounds? Drop the act. There is a wealth of evidence in that recreational vehicle of yours, most of it confirming the suspicions we have been harboring over the recent months. Petty theft from our subjects, impersonation of other kindred, lineage forgery. Need I go on? Okay, guilty. But when did they start caring? It's not like I'm the only one dipping my toes into the ocean of misdemeanors. At least they don't know about our artifact gig. But your involvement in large-scale blood and mortal trafficking, outside our scrutiny and the jurisdiction of the circulatory system, is as obvious as it is dangerous to the stability of our domain. Large-scale, my ass. We hardly move anything through New York, definitely not enough to impact their operations. Plus, we're super careful. Especially with your clientele often being in direct hostility to our interests, as Primogen Payne was kind enough to confirm. Seriously, this can't be right. We always check our clients. Well, Reynard does. But is this some twisted way to set an example? Are they playing the undead IRS? What is their game, really? While some might chalk this up to colossal stupidity, I am neither so forgiving nor tolerant of fraudsters who respect nothing but their own game. I'm not blind to the fact that Reynard's completely MIA in this whole story. He's the big cheese, the head honcho of the entire affair, though calling it an affair might be giving it too much credit. So why are they making it out like I'm the mastermind behind some global crime syndicate? This is not the time to be quiet, Raven. You know what? Fuck him. I'm not going down without a fight. Two options in presence. Or don't. Or we can not use it and just try to talk our way out of it. I am leaning more towards not using any of the disciplines because they obviously won't do us any good in presence of high-ranking, high-level vampires. So we can try to be persuasive. And
Yeah, I also think it's just going to blow up in our face.
Look, I'm just the driver, okay? What do I know? I go where I'm told, close my eyes, crank up some Frostradamus, and let whatever happens in the back of that RV happen. So a terrible taste in music and also a complete idiot, huh? Well, it's not like you put on something good. Sorry, but I've got zilch for you. No answers. But honestly, nothing to clear my name from... Out of nowhere, something pierces my mind, shredding its defenses to dust. It's like my head's been turned inside out, exposing my every thought for their amusement. I whip my head toward the source of this eerie sensation and boom! There's Kadir. The freaking sheriff with those piercing eyes slicing through my layers of BS like it's cake. I earnestly hope you're not taking me for a fool. That would be a misstep of monumental proportions, unlike anything else these walls have witnessed. I get a glimpse of Aisling out of the corner of my eye, silently mouthing words that look suspiciously like, "I beg to differ." Right then, a curved sword appears in Kadir's hand as though he's just pulled it straight from thin air. Or maybe I'm just going nuts. Honestly, I'd be totally shitting my pants right now if that part of me wasn't offline. I'm not here for your games, little Ray. Choose your next words carefully. I'd argue that utter lunacy clears her of charges. She couldn't even cobble together a feeble story, much less orchestrate clandestine trading of this magnitude. And yarn spinning is supposed to be your clan's forte, isn't it? Last chance, my dear. Is there anything of substance you wish to add? Holy shit, that really can't be happening, right? What's my move? What would Reynard do? Reynard, if he had the decency to pop up or at least toss me a fucking heads up, I wouldn't be knee-deep in this disaster. Is he really in trouble? Or what if he bailed on me? Got a hint the Camarilla was breathing down his neck and decided I'm the perfect scapegoat. Nah, that doesn't sound like him. Sure, whatever you say. But why target me and not Reynard? Sure, he's gone now, but could they really be that clueless about him? I'm totally lost, but I do know what he would probably do. His move would be to look out for number one. Spill the beans more than necessary, go to buy some time. Time is gold, and with enough of it, maybe there's the chance to wriggle out of this mess. It's all or nothing now. Hit the jackpot or end up porcupined with stakes. Guess there's not much point in playing dumb, huh? Couldn't agree more. Game on. Alright then. So, I indeed am tangled up in this little blood trafficking operation, playing a pretty crucial part, if I do say so myself, though I guess not everyone's on board with that assessment. I do the logistics, pushing merchandise through the series of dark web channels. Every eyebrow in the room goes up, except for the cigarette aficionado in the back, who lets out a slight smirk. I mean, a little controlled drama never hurts in a short con. All totally secure and anonymous. No slips about, our thing. Everything masked by the hustle of more mundane black markets. No way we're blowing the masquerade. We deal in stored blood, as you might have caught on. Not just any blood, though. Our merch is a little jazzed up. Thaumaturgically enhanced, to be exact. It's the only way they'd work, as you're well aware. I am, but that's not for you to find out. Right, of course. Oh, and we also deal in, let's call them family treasures. But honestly, that's more like a side gig than anything serious. But we're extremely careful about picking our clients, and really thorough when it comes to making deals. You know, the traditions and all. I was sure we'd never even come close to breaking them. At least that's what he led me to believe. I had a hunch there were more dodgy dealings in his more secret ventures. To deny that would be a flat-out lie. But let's be real. I'm way outside the inner circle to have a real sway in those parts of his enterprise. For a brief moment, an uneasy silence sweeps over the room. His enterprise? Is this a joke? Exactly who is this he you're referring to? I give it all my all to appear as blameless as possible. I presumed you knew it was my sire who's masterminded it all. The room's heavy silence is soon filled with hushed whispers following my revelation. Good. If fortune is on my side, I might just live to see another moonrise. Indeed, how fortuitous. And your sire would be? There is only one other notable rogue in the city who comes to mind. Someone dipping in and out, known for their shifty nature, of which I was somewhat aware. Reynard Castle. You nailed it, Chief. I mean, sir. Another brief moment of silence gets interrupted by the girl in the back who addresses the sheriff. I can practically hear the cogs turning in your head, Kadir. What's your take on it? Truth be told, it does add up, though I had him pegged more as a con artist than a trafficker. Then why hasn't he been apprehended yet, Sheriff? Are you secretly endorsing activities that impede the circulatory system's operations? For your own good, Payne, I'll pretend I didn't catch that. Or would you care to question my dedication to our cause again? Be warned, my patience wears extremely thin these nights. Can we put this bickering on hold, at least for the moment? An opportunity staring me right in the face. How could I resist squeezing myself right into it? One more thing. Reynard and I had a meeting lined up with a client a few hours back, but he never showed up. In the whole year and a half I've been in this gig, he's never just vanished like this. And what do you make of it? Now, with the floodgates of truth wide open, it's time to dive into the art of lying my ass off. To be honest, I'm not sure. But now that I think of it, he's changed over the past month. Become a lot more erratic than usual. Ready for my theory? I'm pretty sure he caught wind of your lot and decided to feed me to the flames while he made a run for it. Whether they're swallowing my story or they're just tired of my presence, it feels like I'm nudging things the way I want them. Not everyone's convinced, though. An unwitting pawn betrayed by her master. A likely story, suitable for the stage indeed. But in this context, if I may... Damn it, but right, don't go getting yourself into... Baron's warning arrives a bit too late. Instantly, the others shift their focus, fixing their eyes on the caitiff with unmistakable hostility. It's clear they're not exactly fond of him. Since you already disrupted the proceedings, you might as well say your piece, mediator. Very well then. I'm inclined to believe her, at least in the aspects most significant to the interests of our allies. Thanks, you mysterious weirdo. As ever, your assertion remains devoid of substance. My guy's advice is pretty much always on point. His track record speaks for itself. The sheriff has a point that seems to hold water. Her sire might just be the one at fault. She's essentially a non-entity, is she not? A nobody that slipped under the radar until, by a stroke of sheer bad luck, she got caught red-handed. Do excuse the pun. When you give it another look, the evidence you have collected should indeed back up the claim quite convincingly. And what grounds your intricate evaluation, precisely? My judgment is shaped by your vast experience and simply tempered by reasoning and intuition. It changes little regarding the consequences she must face for her complicity in her sire's crimes. Let's do or die. How about I serve you Reynard's head on a silver plate in exchange for mine unscathed on my shoulders? Kadir's stare pins me under silent disapproval, but he lets me, as the curly-haired asshole put it, spin my yarn. I know all the secret spots in this town, but plus the tools he wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. I'm wired into his network, his contacts. I've got his playbook down, and I can stay one step ahead of him with ease. Just give me a chance and we can all be thanking our lucky stars by the end. They slip into a quiet introspection, or maybe they're just playing a round of mental chess, trying to read each other's minds without uttering a word. I have reservations about this daring proposition. Consider the potential fallout if this entire situation spirals out of control. Kadir throws up his hand, clearly over dealing with my case. Capturing the swell proved hardly a challenge. I wouldn't sweat the idea of catching her again. What's more, entrusting her with Castle resolves two issues at once. It swiftly eliminates her presence and enables us to prioritize genuine concerns. But someone has to keep a constant watch over her. Valerie, perhaps one of yours? A batshit crazy idea bursts into my mind. The kind of a gamble that could either turn out brilliantly or spectacularly implode. Let the dice roll. How about him? I jab my finger toward the quiet caitiff. Pat Drake, was it? His expression shifts to one of utter confusion as he catches the subtle smirks of the council members. Surely you're not considering... This could play out quite favorably, I must admit. Quite favorably indeed. Holy shit, it actually worked. Very well. Padraig Conroy, I hereby appoint you as the agent caretaker of this Ravnos neonate. I hate to break it to you, Sheriff, but this call is out of your turf. He's with us anarchs, and you know it well enough. Technically, when he took on the whole peacemaker role for us cliques, he acquired a level of neutrality, so yeah. Kadir redirects his gaze to the captive. Your responsibility is to ensure she fulfills the assignment within 4 nights, starting now. Any slip-ups on her end will reflect on your record as well. Do we have an understanding? 4 nights. Not a whole lot, but better than nothing. Padraig's resigned nod mirrors exactly how I feel. Now, back to where we were. Their sudden disinterest in me is a clear get-out-of-here signal. Seems like I've managed to slide from one pit to another. But hey, I've bought myself a little time, and in my world, that's precious currency. Unless, of course, that caitiff turns out to be a wild card. How did that saying go? Out of the frying pan into the fire. Or maybe the other way around. Out of the fire into the frying pan. In any case, we've got a hard time limit. 4 nights to find our sire. Interesting situation. And yeah, gotta be on the lookout for this caitiff. Up in the air. I've bought myself some time to find Reynard and scram out of the city before the Camarilla catches on. The only trouble is this caitiff tick clinging to my back, which honestly is kind of my own fault. I need to figure out how to shake him off. We might not need hot air to nourish our vitae, but I still let out a sigh of relief when the doors of Elysium slammed shut behind us. Talk about a crew of entitled assholes holed up in their ivory towers, sneering at kindred just scraping by to make dead ends meet. I hope they get a nice sharp stake to the foot. But hey, it's all good. My golden words and silver tongue managed to buy me some time to find Reynard and get the hell out of Dodge before those clowns catch on that we've already hit the west coast. The only hiccup for now is... Keep making that face at me, and it might just stick that way. Well, let's try and make him into our friend then. Then maybe it's time you shut your eyes, pal, and let me navigate us to our destination. Just give it a 10 count before peeping. I would rather if we didn't... He pauses mid-sentence. Actually, on second thought, that might just top the chart as the worst suggestion I've been privy to tonight. And believe me, it has some heavy competition. Don't worry, there is more to come. I haven't played my final card yet. Stay optimistic. A whirl around, his exasperated sigh chasing after me. Be what may, this caitiff tick's gotta go. Look, the sun is about to rise. We can pick up this little dance of ours again tomorrow night, okay? Let's get moving. My haven isn't even in this part of town. Hold up, what do you mean, your haven? Alright, hear me out. I get that this whole thing is a bit of a pain for the both of us. Trust me, I have no more desire to mind you than you have to be minded. Yes, I did say harem. It sometimes just happens. What can I say? My tongue has a mind of its own. But let's rewind for a second. You were the one who picked me out at the Elysium and got us both into this mess. If I let you out of my sight, things will get proper unpleasant for me. And believe me, I'm speaking from experience. But you will be torn to shreds by Kadir's hounds before you could say oops. They'll sniff you out sooner rather than later. That is a stone-cold fact. So how about we skip the theatrics and you tag along to a place I know is safe? We can regroup and figure out our next move come nightfall. He stops mid-sentence. Fingers crossed for whatever is the kindred version of a stroke. Well, I could slip away and get to my RV. No, your RV is completely off the table. Oh damn, looks like he can read our mind. The fuck's wrong with my RV? Valerie took her sweet time turning it inside out. Plus the spot you chose for parking isn't exactly the epitome of safety, putting it mildly. It's a fortress on wheels, steel shutters and everything. It's kept me from turning to ash so far, hasn't it? Why does its parking spot suddenly matter? Believe me, these nights, location is everything. He stays silent for a moment, likely thinking he's gained the upper hand in our verbal spar. I still count it as my win. Nevertheless, he starts yapping again soon after. In any case, we need a place to rest and my haven is the safest choice. I really hate to resort to violence, but don't presume I won't drag you there if the need arises. It's your call. Every time I don't get a say, it somehow turns out to be my call. Come on, what do you think I'll do? Run away? Obviously. Oh, ye of little faith. Would I try to bail on you on Christmas night? You sticking around might just count as a true holiday miracle. And no, I don't bank on holiday miracles. If you are under the impression I'll let you out of my sight, then you are not paying attention. Come, let's not dilly-dally. Dilly-dally? Did they embrace him in a Dickens novel? Talk about being charming. Alright, after you. Stubborn as I am, it turns out Mr. Thin and Mean over there is just as immovable. Arguing seems futile. Time for a different approach. I toss him a thoughtful glance, noticing him leisurely fiddling with one of those ugly rings adorning every conceivable part of his hands. What a jerk. My gang would eat him alive. But I can deal with him on my own just fine. All I need is a little bit of inspiration. After a quick look around, a couple of schemes start to take shape. Okay. Do we sick a nearby bouncer on him? Do we try to pull some magic trick? Or do we play the hungry as hell card? Considering our options, I might as well go for the third one. But, once again, open to suggestions.
He did make use of a discipline earlier.
We did. So I'm guessing you're also leaning towards hungry as hell card.
Yeah.
Then so be it. I spy with my little eye a handful of mortals daring to navigate the frosty streets. Many of them stagger along the frozen sidewalks, whether from ice or generous helpings of alcohol they've indulged in earlier. It's quite the tempting scene. I'm not exactly famished. I managed to grab a bite on the road before hitting New York, but the caitiff's in the dark about that. And honestly, I'm pretty skilled at acting the part of the hungry predator, if I do say so myself. I halt abruptly, allowing a series of convulsive twitches to seize me. What's with the drama now? I'm feeling off. Haven't fed in a bit. It's starting to get to me. I don't think I can handle it much longer. You're telling me you cannot endure for a few more hours? No, with my clan, hunger hits differently. It's swift and merciless. It's just how we are. Been there once, never want to go back. He shoots me a look filled with skepticism, but I just mimic a shiver, my body quaking as if I'm starved. Yeah, I'm lying all right, but he does not know that. Ravnos are a rare sight, practically unheard of around here, or anywhere, really. So in his eyes, my performance could be very well genuine. To further my agenda, I press a hand to my temple, my eyes tracking a solitary figure puffing away in a nearby nook. Had that Valerie skank not blindsided me, I might have... All right, enough. Just make it quick. I'll stay close just in case. We make our way toward the isolated figure. Padraig positions himself to block any escape while I face our target. The guy blows out a cloud of smoke, his eyes dazed, mumbling into his breath. Sorry, pal. I lean in as if I wanted to give him the kiss, but instead I push him hard, sending him stumbling straight into Padraig's open arms. And just like that, the guy topples to the ground while the caitiff somehow remains upright despite being thrown off balance. It's my cue to seize the moment and zoom away in the opposite direction, pushing my legs as fast as they go. I have no idea where I'm going, but solitude sounds perfect right now. Even after everything tonight, it looks like I'm on a roll. Must be that Ravna's charm working its magic. Guess we have managed to pull it. At least for a moment. I instantly regret my choice the moment I dash into an alleyway. A dodgy crew handling crates that seem to be filled with combat gear snaps their attention toward me the moment I make my entrance. And they've seen my inhuman speed. Shit. Caleb, look! Her again? Seriously, what the hell? Once is a fluke. Twice is an awfully fucked up coincidence. And I've seen too much to believe in those. It's that raggedy bitch. I told you I wasn't seeing things. Not now, for fuck's sake, I've got eyes. Squad to your positions. They begin to circle me, exchanging nods. It's only then I notice their tactical gear and the unmistakable outline of wooden stakes. Is this the infamous Special Affairs Division? Also called SAD, this FBI division is committed to neutralizing the Kindred of threat. To get their targets, SAD uses not only its influence in law enforcement, but also their extensive case files on anti-Kindred activities, and some finesse and detective work. Yes, SAD. We get surrounded by sad boys and girls in here. Commandeered Kindred assets give them impressive economic freedom from their other global entities in what vampires call the Second Inquisition. Seriously, fuck my own life. Reynard was spot on. I'm always too quick to pop the champagne. Back off, would you? This isn't gonna end well for you. Shut your filthy gob, leech. He whips out a stake to compensate for his shaky tone. I'm not one to head-on combat, but it's way past the time for cunning. Form the sides, now! They come at me all at once with an attack, surprisingly uncoordinated for such a well-equipped team. That disarray is the only reason I may survive this. Wouldn't it be funny if they actually are played like, well, first-time players in a game of, what was it, Hunter the Reckoning, I think, if we go by World of Darkness. As a flash of heat surges through me, their movements seem to slow down. I grab the first one by arm as he swings a knife at me, driving my nails into his armpit. Everything turns into a shade of red I find disturbingly pleasant. Next, I leap and spin, taking the squeaky girl down with a kick that leaves her neck at a grotesque angle, her body crumpling to the ground. Their leader waves his stake in hesitation, searching for an opening. Bring it on, you undead whore! I don't give him the chance. In an instant, I am at his throat, tearing and ripping. His blood washes over my skin like a hot shower. It feels comforting. As the chaos fades, here I am, perfectly unharmed amid the carnage, swept up in the rush of victory. Tonight is definitely my night. But then reality strikes. Quite literally. Knocked onto my knees and suddenly dazed, I scramble to get up. I need to get out before the caitiff catches up. As I try to rise, a kick sends me sprawling. Another thug, the one that I missed, sits on top of me, stake in hand, aimed straight at my heart. I react instantly, bucking my hips and reaching for his elbow, ready to tear and rip. But I can't. And I don't have to. Suddenly, hands encircle the thug's neck, twisting it in a complete circle, reminiscent of some horror movie owl. He drops beside me, lifeless, as the caitiff casually retrieves the stake. So, hunger took you out, huh? Piss off. I believe thank you is the phrase you're looking for. You should be glad I caught up to you so quickly. He extends his hand with grace, and there is a part of me itching to grab it, to pull at it, and literally take him down a peg. But I let the moment pass. The brawl's worn me out, and dawn's creeping up on us. I refuse his help, pushing myself up with a mix of pride and fatigue. Why don't you hold on to the stake? Consider it a memento of the time you nearly got taken out by a few hunters and needed my intervention. A slice of humble pie, if you will. I tuck the stake into my belt bag, feeling more awkward about it than I care to show. For the record, I had it under control. But wait, hunters? Of course, you didn't seriously think it was the SAD, did you? He lets out a chuckle, the first one I've heard from him. It feels out of place, I think. Do not take it personally, but if it were the SAD you were up against, you'd have been taken out before you even realized there was a threat. They're too well organized, too well professional. These guys, however... He sweeps his hand around, gesturing towards the fallen hunters. Well, they haven't quite mastered the element of surprise. Still, running into that many in one place? Kadir mentioned something about a locust swarm back at Elysium, but come on, twice in one night? That's more than just bad luck. Indeed, New York is nowhere near as safe for our kind as it once was. This is not your typical hunter behavior. It's an anomaly, and its source is still unknown. Until we figure it out, I strongly advise against sprinting like a demented cheetah, biting whatever's within arm's reach, or showing off your unique powers. For your own safety, assume you're under constant surveillance. Choose your moments wisely. It's the second time I'm hearing this kind of warning tonight. Maybe I should actually start paying attention. And you might want to rethink your attempts to ditch me. I might not arrive in time to save you the next time you get in trouble. The next time seems to have me all figured out. Alright, maybe sticking with you might have some benefits. Am I hearing things, or was that a compliment? Don't let it get to your head, and don't expect a repeat. Now, about that haven of yours. Okay. We also have a detour before that. Stranger in the night. In New York City, you never know when you'll bump into the king of all douchebags. But honestly, it feels like it happens every goddamn time you step foot outside. Well, if there was a true New York is full of these kinds of people. Silence usually does not bother me. It's often a chance to collect my scattered thoughts, which, let's be honest, are usually all over the damn place. It can also be a big, flashy sign that I fucked up and that I've got to scramble to bounce back from the mess I made. But this kind of silence, oh, this is some golden opportunity right here. One in which I throw in the towel, stop giving a shit, and just enjoy watching the lanky one squirm like he's got an army of invisible fists going to town on his brain. Of course it doesn't last. Not with an oddball in the distance eyeing us. Christ. Check out that guy. Huh? That bootleg Wesley Snipes right there. Look. I toss a subtle glance towards the guy decked out in black. But the longer I stare, the more I think, oh shit. I think he's one of them? A hunter? What? Of course not. I mean, I get that the group we dealt with wasn't exactly a think tank, but out here, in broad nightlight, and dressed like a walking cliché? He rattles it off so fast I almost suspect he's trying to distract me. It's just a stranger in the night. Pay him no mind. Yeah, sure. My stranger danger sense, that skin-crawling sensation of an unfamiliar presence getting too close, hasn't dulled since I was embraced. And now I've got better defenses than mere pepper spray. But the way he looks at me as we cross paths, it's disgustingly indescribable. And then he speaks. Evening, ma'am. Yeah, he does look like a bootleg Wesley Snipes, you know what? And if those blinking eyes are true, then yes, he's also a vampire. There's something eerie about the tone of his voice. I nod automatically and shoot Padraig a wary look. He signals to keep walking. Mr. Conroy, evening to you. Quite the night, huh? Fuck, this isn't just some rando then. The way he drops Padraig's last name stops us in our tracks, like he's cast a binding spell. Quite the night indeed. We're kinda in a rush, though. I see. I'll be brief then. Mr. Conroy, your obligations. I'm here on behalf of our shared acquaintance, gently reminding you of what's at stake. The circumstances rapidly change, as you're aware, I'm sure. The smugness in his voice is grating enough to make me grind my teeth, but surprisingly, it's Padraig who loses his cool, not me. His tone gets abrasive, a side of him I've never seen before, but then I've known him 3 hours, tops. I'm well aware, and don't you worry about passing that along. I've managed without a proxy so far, and I don't plan on needing one now. Regrettably, that's not up to you to decide. Christ, I didn't sign up for an evening of snarky back and forth. Do we tell the guy to back off? Do we support Padraig, or do we just go a little bit physical? Just a little bit. Something tells me going physical might not be the best option. Then again, any other suggestions? Mhm.
I'm sure getting into fisticuffs with a blade is a, cannot end badly for us.
You are right in that regard. So let's try to be diplomatic then. Or, suggestion from you around, YOLO beat his ass. What's the worst that could happen? Before I know it, my fist is flying, slamming into that asshole's face hard enough to knock the smugness right off it. Damn, here we go again. You bitch, I'll have you skinned for that. Alright, enough. That Drake steps in like a pro bouncer, putting a solid barrier between me and that dickhead. You better keep that bitch on a leash, Conroy. Who knows what could happen to her? Nothing's gonna happen. Understood? I'm not done here, and clearly this asshole isn't either, judging by his puffed up chest. But suddenly he's all chill, like we didn't just have a moment. Enjoy the night, Mr. Conroy, ma'am. Then he locks eyes with me. But watch out for dingy alleys, they're crawling with vermin, as you already know. His words echo in my mind as we head towards Padraig's safe house. At first I thought it was a threat, but now I'm not so sure. How the fuck does he know? Does gossip really spread around that quickly here? Who the hell was that? Just an old contact of mine, nothing to worry about. Right. And how the fuck did he know anything about our running with the hunters? I don't know, Callie, okay? Maybe he took a wild guess. I'm not exactly a stretch to run into trouble here, especially now, especially with you around. He's clearly shaken by the whole thing. How intriguing. Look, I'm sorry. It's probably nothing to lose sleep over. Let's just get moving, alright? I give a nod. Not like there's much choice, with him being all jitters and no candor. Looks like my dear Caitiff's sitting on a pile of secrets. Considering the vibe of that jackass we just dealt with, the mind reels at the possibilities. But then again, what are we if not the secrets we keep? And on to the main event, where Caitiff lies low. The sun's about to rise and I've had more than enough for one night. All I need to do is to sink into the deep dark void of rest, and tonight, Padraig's Haven is the place to be. The walk feels endlessly long. I try to focus on the task of locating Reynard, but my thoughts just won't line up right. Definitely not a promising end to the night. Before I know it, we're already there. This is our stop. Let's head inside. Dawn is nearly upon us. He steps through the door first, but leaves it open for me. I see it as a slight sign of trust. Or maybe I'm just too exhausted to be on the lookout for tricks. Home sweet home. Yeah, honestly looks pretty comfy. Peeking into a kindred's haven is kind of like trying to read their diary. Assuming they have one, of course. Our van, which I share with my crew, might tell a story of covert operations, daring escapes, and tight-knit camaraderie. For those with a flair for drama, that is. To anyone else, it could just seem like a mobile hideout for a few smugglers. Granted, I haven't exactly been a guest in many havens, but this one, it's practically shouting its love affair with books and a certain, let's say, relaxed approach to tidiness. And that Padraig probably didn't expect to have company. Like, ever. Every inch of it is covered in books, papers, and random notes. A wild mosaic of ideas, from the mundane to the outright unhinged. I swear there are even scribbles and napkins in the mix. Padraig seems a little bit flustered that I caught his haven in such disarray. He rushes to clean up, picking up an armful of paper along the way. If we get an opportunity, we will go, damn bitch, you live like this? Make yourself at home. The couch is all yours. At least the windows, all still open, have been secured with steel shutters. All in all, the place feels rather cozy. A pretty decent haven, I think. Just a tad too lonely for my tastes. Do we ask about the papers, check out his book collection, or look out the window? Just to get a feel of the place. I am personally leaning more towards checking out his book collection to get a read on what kind of a person he is. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Then we're all in agreement. Among the clutter, a vast collection of James Joyce books stand out, surrounded by other books that feel more like homework than leisure reading. Honestly, haven't heard about James Joyce. Maybe I'll check that after the stream. Drake's choice in literature? Definitely on the no fun side. The stacks of papers he's clutching is kept under wraps and impossible to read, but the ones littering the rest of the space? They're up for grabs. I stretch my neck to get a closer look, ditching any attempt to be sneaky, only to find some disjointed snippets about history, voices, oracles, and the like. I shoot him a disappointed frown, only to be met with his painfully blind gaze. Clearly, someone's got their poker face down pat. A history buff? Don't take this the wrong way, but you totally give off that vibe. Why would I take it the wrong way? I give a casual shrug, and he offers a smile in return. It's not exactly brimming with joy, but hey, I'll take what I can get. Irish author. Get some rest. We've got a busy night ahead of us. It's hard to put up a fight against common sense, especially when you're running on empty. I give him a vague wave, settle onto the couch amid a few stray papers, and let myself sink into the deep, dark void of rest. Few hours prior. My throat wasn't feeling a bit parched. I would have done the French narrator from SpongeBob impression. The steady drone of machinery blends with the aroma of ancient dust and robust alchemy, conjuring a palpable atmosphere that teases the senses. It's a relentless reminder of the raw power in action, a sensation that never leaves you, no matter how far away you go. Is it a common theme across Tremere Labs, or did she add a personal twist just for my sake? I guess that's beside the point tonight. Tonight, the stakes are sky high. No room for getting sidetracked. I'm going to ask this once. You do understand all the specifics, correct? The procedure and the risks that come with it? My gaze drifts down to my necklace, the symbol of my cause. I nod in silent agreement. Make no mistake, should you attempt to violate our arrangement, I have my methods to track you down. Believe me, that would be far less pleasant than what's coming next. Let's just get this over with, shall we? I'm instantly hit with pain so intense it feels like my flesh is being torn asunder. And no matter how much I try, I can't black out for even the briefest moment of blissful reprieve. My consciousness clings on, as stubborn as I am, and as if making me pay for my plentiful sins, or paving the road for new ones to come. But the agony is worth it, and so is the prize that's coming after. Game saved, new journal entry added. What do we have? Going solo to find my sire was not exactly a stellar idea. I got nabbed by the Camarilla's very own Scourge and slammed with some bullshit accusations. Not that I'm a saint, but you know, I'm a little bit offended that they get me so easily. I get the lowdown of at Elysium. Either I bring them Reynard's head or get cozy with the sheriff's sword. Not that I'm planning on writing Reynard out, but I need an exit plan and I need it now. The second I shook off my caretaker, bam, hunters popped out of nowhere. I held my own until one of those assholes caught me off guard. Hate to admit it, but Padraig swooped in and saved my undead ass. Well, if it is an Irish author he's reading, I'm guessing Padraig would be an Irish pronunciation of Patrick. Which makes sense, I think. And life is full of surprises. I never pictured myself as at a slumber party in the haven of a James Joyce junkie. But look at me now. So, all the characters we've met so far. Addison Payne, Ventru Privilegian. Addison Payne occupies a pivotal role within the Camarilla, valued for his vast wealth, extensive connections, and unwavering adherence to traditions. Despite being unable to move or speak on his own due to his physical condition, Addison is accompanied by a devoted attendant who articulates his thoughts to others. As a highly respected figure in the Ivory Tower, his contributions to Prince Panhard's agenda were significant, at least until he sets his sights on seizing her title. However, some kindred question, in whispers, whether Payne is truly capable of making his own decisions, or if he is just an empty shell puppeteered by an invisible hand. Yeah, getting embraced at his age sucks. And he is basically more orthodox than orthodox, if we're talking about Camarilla traditions. Aisling Sturbridge, High Regent of the Five Boroughs Chantry. Aisling reveals only what she wants others to know. Fiercely loyal to her clan, she remains focused on securing and strengthening the Warlock's position in New York City, even as her High Regent status wavers due to the splintering within the Tremere strata. With Prince Panhard's grip weakening, Aisling understands that influencing her may soon yield little profit. Savvy and strategic, she seeks alternatives both within and outside the court to achieve her goals, willing to take risks beyond common sense. I'm pretty sure she was at least mentioned in the original Vampire the Masquerade rulebooks. Caleb, Rookie Hunter. Devoted to the cause and ruthless beyond his years, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Also kinda looks like grown-up Ron Weasley, minus the freckles. Gianni D'Angelo, Paranoid Gumshoe. A self-proclaimed detective extraordinaire with a penchant for noir drama, a knack for getting tangled in conspiracies, and more than a few unresolved issues. While he considers himself an autarchist, he has no qualms about aligning it with either New York sects when it suits his interests. He crossed paths with Kali during her occasional business in the city a couple of years ago, marking the start of what might be considered a friendship, if you squint hard enough. Helene Panhard, Prince of New York City, also Ventru. The current ruler of the local Camarilla, despite her notable efforts and connections, appears to be struggling to maintain her position as the prince. Panhard is constantly on alert, carefully concealing any signs of weakness or vulnerability that could be exploited by her detractors. Even the kindred expected to support her through the most difficult times favor her no longer, and are only waiting for the right moment to retract their backing. Some figures are increasingly vocal in their opposition to her leadership and actively seek to undermine her authority, especially Kadir Al-Asmai, who is first in line to deal with the fallout of her steadily slipping control. Regular old hound, Camarilla's footstool. La Sombra clan. Largely incompetent as a hound, but useful from time to time as an Elysium bouncer. He's always brooding because his embrace into the La Sombra clan took away his precious hobby, playing video games around the clock. The most oppressed minority of them all. Gamers. And there's our previous protagonist from Shadows of New York, Julia Sawinski, La Sombra Privilegian. A veritable kindred power keg, Julia combines the wits of a former journalist with the ruthlessness of a fully realized La Sombra. Having recently taken her place on the council, sacrificing her lover and a good part of her humanity in the process, yes, looks like that is the canonical ending of Shadows of New York. She is still regarded as somewhat of an outsider. Her relationship with her former mentor, Kadir Al-Asmai, has grown decidedly chilly. Yes, he was not happy that she has become a true La Sombra. Well, not exactly killed, more like cast her out and then someone killed her in the hopes of influencing her, but she did not care. Armed with cigarettes and a dark sense of humor, Julia fights hard to stay ahead of the eternal power struggle of the Ivory Tower. But nobody knows what the upcoming nights will bring for the young, fatalistic La Sombra. And yes, in case you're wondering, La Sombra are now part of the Camarilla, due to the ever-shifting politics of the unlife. Callie, Dark Web Dealer. Drifting through life from one rave to another and scamming people for a living, Kali was a Ravnos through and through, long before catching the eye of Reynard Castle. Seeing her as a potential asset, he promptly embraced her almost 2 years ago. Her unique insight into human nature and access to secure dark web trading channels have been a great boon to her coterie. As the logistics expert, she ensures the merchandise, no matter how shady, ends up in the right hands. However, with her sire's mysterious disappearance, Callie must learn how to swim in uncharted waters instead of simply relying on her gifts and Lady Luck's smile. Padre Conroy, Caitiff Mediator. I think I'm just gonna call him Patrick from now. Patrick Conroy. A calm, nondescript presence lurking in the background of any meeting involving both the Anarchs and Camarilla, Patrick Conroy easily assumes the mantle of mediator. Although disdained from his caitiff provenience by the Ivory Tower figures, he not only serves as peacemaker but also acts as advisor to Torque, the Baron of the Bronze. Uptight, taciturn, and surrounded by an air of mystery, Patrick is tasked with shadowing Kali in her search for her missing sire, all the while skirting around his most private affairs. There's our man, Kadir Al-Asmai, Sheriff of New York City. The paragon of loyalty and duty, Kadir Al-Asmai has served as New York's sheriff for a few more decades than is advisable. Disillusioned with the fruitless bickering of the council and the indecisiveness of Prince Panhard, Kadir finds it increasingly challenging to fulfill his duties. The emergence of new threats within the city, intent on dividing and conquering it or simply tearing it apart, only worsens his struggle. Even those who wish him well, insofar as kindred are able to, see that he is becoming increasingly ruthless, slowly but surely giving in to the beast. Don't worry, there will be a reminder in the glossary as to what a sheriff is. Squeaker, Rookie Huntress. Loud, boisterous, and abrasive, she tries to make up for her lack of experience with her determination to follow orders, even if it means putting herself in danger. Thomas Arturo, Influential Harpy. Also Ventru. Despite the mystery veiling his machinations, Arturo's deep-seated contempt and vanity are unmistakable. One of the most ambitious kindred in New York City, he exploits his influence as Harpy to skillfully navigate court games, employing any measure that could benefit him in the long run. However, with the weakening position of Prince Helene Panhard and no suitable replacement he can easily manipulate, Arturo struggles to maintain his meticulously designed unlife. Torque, Baron of the Bronze, Bruja. While Torque's heart has always been ready for a fight, the complexities of kindred politics have shifted his focus towards brokering deals rather than breaking skulls. This change has left him a newfound air of prudence and conservatism. Despite still having some clout among the less fierce licks, Torque's position as a leader weakens by the night. His previous machinations have led him to a stalemate where he can do little more than engage in politicking. He resents that position, but the fear of losing his hard-earned gains paralyzes him from taking decisive action. And finally, Valerie Duval, Scourge of New York City. Once again, Ventru. The figure of Valerie Duval inspires fear throughout New York City. She executes her duties with ruthless efficiency under the sheriff's orders, at times independently, when she targets the thin blood population. As a model member of the clan Ventru, she combines grace and beauty and with cunning and relentlessness, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to strike without mercy. So, quick reminder as to what the sheriff is. Somewhere around here. Here, sheriff. A kindred who maintains order within the prince's domain, often acting more as a hitman than a peacekeeper. As the Camarilla frowns upon modern ideas like due process, most executions take place without a trial or any opportunity for the accused to defend themselves. Sad but true. Let's end this night. Nothing else to do. We can go on it for a little while longer at least. 6 nights till New Year. Christmas. Just a week away. I'm so happy with this information. Again and again. It's the same sensation. A sudden plunge into frigid waters, snapping me back to reality. Not exactly a graceful awakening, more of a shit, here we go again kind of moment. In the midst of this routine, there is always that distinctive first touch, the thing that jolts me back to consciousness. This time, it's the gentle rustle of pages turning, a subtle nudge back to the waking world. I crack open an eye and look around. In his derelict armchair, Patrick sits bent over a heavy tome, pencil in hand, etching thoughts into the yellowed pages. His gaze never leaves the text, but he must have sensed me awaken. Good evening. I hope you slept well. As well as one can get when their home's been taken away. God, I had so many cushions. Bought them myself, you know. There was even a little fox embroidered on one. How very quaint. I would never have pictured you as one for nostalgia. Yeah, well, you don't know me at all, so I suppose that is fair. So, did I snooze through anything noteworthy? He jots down one last note, and carefully closes the book before finally glancing up at me, face unyielding as cold as ice. That would depend on your definition of noteworthy, but I have been pondering our next steps. Oh? Do tell. I have been working for the Anarchs for the past 2 years and forged friendly relationships with some of them. Torque included, although in this particular case I would rather avoid his presence. No option to answer slept like a corpse. I suppose that would have been the answer yes. Trouble in paradise? Trouble in the Bronx. Torque is more than occupied with the current goings-on within his turf. He may have neither time nor patience for a visit. He glances at the window, clearly wrestling with his thoughts. Pity. So what do you propose, then? The allegations against your sire... See, I happen to know someone who used to be deeply entrenched in the darker corners of the Red Market. An anarch working not too far from here. If Castle truly wields as much influence as the court suggests, my contact would offer substantial aid. Substantial, you say? Wow, can't argue with that. Except it's a no-go, amigo. His face crunches up in surprise, and he repeats the words as if trying to taste them for poison. A no-go, amigo? Look, I get it. You have friends and contacts aplenty, but so do I. Also, I know Reynard Castle like the back of my hand. We've been dealing with all around the city on and off for almost 2 years. There's gotta be somebody here who knows where he bailed. Patrick furrows his body, waiting for me to elaborate further. This is a real quandary. 2 little angels whisper steadily into my ears, one having fallen spectacularly into the pits of hell, while the other has only sauntered vaguely downwards, spouting completely contradictory notions. And that's a Good Omens reference. I'll recognize it anywhere. In the end, I ignore them both, as I often do, and choose a third option. The best option, one where I don't have to reveal much at all. There's this one guy who hangs around Harlem. Eli Sanseric. Apparently he is one of the few kindred that didn't burn with hatred for Reynard, so it must mean they were getting along. He tilts his head slightly at the name of my... well, let's just call it contact. Eli Sanseric? The Serpent? Why? You have something up against him? You do know what the Ministry... Never mind that. Do you have the slightest inkling about what Sanseric's capable of? Reminder about the Ministry. The Ministry always has something to offer. This often cult-like clan recruits those able to employ temptation as a weapon. They embrace those with a will and means to sway, entrap, and ultimately liberate their targets from whatever they seek. The victim's possessions, allegiance, or even faith. To the serpents, everything has a price. Monikers. The Clan of Faith, Setites, Followers of Set, the Clan of Lies, Typhonists, Serpents, Liberators, Judasians. Oh, I am not fond of that look. The one filled with pity. But somehow I can't seem to bring out a credible lie to spite him. Go on, enlighten me. To put it bluntly, only in the most desperate situation would anyone with an ounce of sanity consider seeking out Eli Sanseric. A perfect lead given my circumstances. I can go find him now, have a little chat, and be back in no time. We could go find him, but it's far from the best course of action at the moment. Sansaric is known to be extremely dangerous and territorial. We should not take him lightly. I propose we go to the Anarchs first. At least here we will not be in danger of losing our heads. You're being so dramatic. We're gonna be fine. What's the worst that could happen? I believe us literally losing our heads is most definitely in the realm of possibility. We could split the party, you know. Again, we most certainly could not. See, I think... Sweet lord, this guy... Alright, time to kick things up a notch. I fish a weighted coin out of my belt bag. Whoops, sorry. I think I reached my limit here there. How about we just flip a coin? Heads we go to Sansaric, tails we go to Harlem. You mean the Bronx? I hate it when people actually listen to what I say. Fine, fine. Call it already. I see him hesitate, eyes going blank for a moment. His hand almost inadvertently crawls toward his ring, spinning it around a couple of times. Squinting at it, I finally manage to make out that it's a dice ring. One of those real dorky ones that D&D nerds wear when they want to look their silliest. Finally, Patrick looks back at me, gaze as sharp as ever. Alright, but you call it. Suit yourself, buddy. It's your funeral. Heads or tails? And just to give us a reminder, heads, we go to Eli. Tails, we go to Bronx. I am personally leaning more towards heads. Any other suggestions? One vote for heads. And I'm guessing another one will be for heads as well. Unanimously. Heads. I lower my head to hide a little smile. The weighted coin glimmers in the warm light of the floor lamp as it soars through the air, spinning quicker than the wheel of fate. It lands safely on my outstretched hand, and I flip it onto my palm, showing it confidently to Patrick without even a glance. He looks at it and smiles up at me like the cat that got the cream. Tails, fancy that. Seems we are going to the Bronx after all. What? Impossible. Truly impossible. This has never happened before. Traitorous coin. Have I not been good to you? Have I not kept you safe in my pocket all these years? Is that how you repay me? I mean, what the actual fuck? Who is he? Did David Blaine finally freeze to death and turn into this lanky trickster? How did he... best 2 out of 3? Come on, we can take my car. Well, shit. That's one battle lost. Also, did not expect someone to remember David Blaine. Yeah, your car. Wait, you mean that black rattletrap out front? It's a perfectly serviceable vehicle, whose minuscule size allows for... you know what? How about we just go and you can enjoy your minuscule vehicle in silence? A is for anarchy. Stupid coin. Gotta take the L, I guess. Oh no! Zoomer writing! Not my ideal move, but tagging along with the caitiff might get me some answers. Plus, having seen Torque's reaction at Elysium, those anarchs might have a soft spot for Patrick, and share more than they would if I asked them myself. Patrick's car is indeed a perfectly serviceable vehicle, and that's legally all I'm allowed to say. I'm having a blast shuffling through all the ancient cassette tapes he's collected, judging his taste of music out loud. Another Bohemian Rhapsody? Seriously? Huh. I thought I only had one of them. Terrific. He says this with the straightest of faces, and I can't help but burst into laughter. God forbid you get with the times. How about a legit car radio? You know, to update your playlist? Says the one sporting a Walkman on her belt. Touché, I guess. Still, I do have a soft spot for Queen. It never gets old. Honestly, same, Patrick. Good for you. Just saying, you're missing out on a whole lot if you ignore stuff from the 21st century. The music scene has been booming. Ever heard of K-pop? We're gonna have some serious sassaying energy, my guy. Do not utter these words in my presence, wretch, or you will meet your final death. He eyes me with sudden interest. Do you think any of them have released cassette tapes? Aside from contrasting views on modernity, our little journey proceeds smoothly. Too smoothly, in fact. A violent itch grows within me. To tease, scratch, prod, and I can't help but give in. We can ask him about the Anarchs, we can ask him about himself, or we can just ask him in general, I suppose. I'm personally leaning more towards his name of choice. Or choice of name. You get what I mean. But if nobody is up for that, we can just keep asking him in general about the goings on, I suppose, related to the case. BTS has outsold the Beatles, which makes them better. Yeah, and John Lennon has usurped God after he was shot. Anyway, Carmine, what are you leaning towards in this line of questioning? So, do we ask him about his name, about the Anarchs, or let's shake him until he spills, whatever that means?
Maybe third option?
Let's see, a vote for why the Anarchs, a vote for the third option. I'm tossing my imaginary coin and it's landing on the third option as well. Holy shit, watch out! He doesn't even flinch. The hell? We're gonna crash and... Seriously, are you a robot or what? No, just seasoned and in the right mind. What was that really about then? Because I need to do better than that to freak me out. Just the traffic driving me nuts. Thought I'd stir up a little chaos. A little bit of anarchy. Is that your subtle way of inquiring about a seemingly touchy subject? You tell me. Then brace yourself for disappointment. My run-ins with the Anarchs aren't nearly as thrilling as you might hope. I landed in New York about 2 years ago. Shortly after, I managed to save a handful of kindred, mostly of the Anarch variety, although I do believe there was some Camarilla in the mix. It earned me what I would call tentative trust from Torque. And not much else, as you might have assessed back in Elysium. Wow, so noble. So how did you go from kindred hero to Camarilla's gopher? There's a pause as if he's genuinely considering the trajectory of his own life. I have a knack for playing peacemaker, apparently, and while Torque considers this an asset, the Camarilla thinks it's a chink in his armor. Compromise isn't really in their vocabulary, you know? Oh, I definitely do know. But if you saved some Camarilla kindred as well, why not start with them and curry some favor? They're the fat cats of New York, right? I am a caitiff, Kali. My kind is not exactly welcome around the ivory tower. A rare feeling of guilt washes over me, even though there is no bitterness in his voice. After a brief uncomfortable silence, I abruptly change the subject and lead the conversation onto a slightly different track. We can once again ask about the Anarchs, we'll inquire about the Camarilla, or any other major players in the city. I don't think there is a Sabbat presence in New York. In New York City itself, at least. That'd be closer to west.
I'm not sure the Sabbath have much of a presence in V5 at all.
Yeah, that is true. They're all heading to Middle East to participate in that final war of theirs. So, Anarchs or Camarilla? Then again,
Mm. Y-
when we are asking about major players, I do have a couple of ideas as to who that might be.
Yeah, I would either ask about Camarilla or other major players.
Then we'll ask about the major players. So we have the Camarilla and the Anarchs. That's pretty much a standard fare. Anybody else to keep an eye out for? No. His response is so swift it borders on phony. But his face remains as impassive as always. Right. How about cool stories about the Anarchs? You seem to gel with them the most. He hesitated briefly. His hands, while placed firmly on the steering wheel, meet in the middle as his fingers start nervously fiddling with the dice ring. Deep down, the logical part of me knows I should back off. But the readily available part, the one right beneath my cold dead skin, lurches at this opportunity to sneak straight into the vault of secrets. Come on, I'm dying of boredom here. You must have some wild tales to tell, something not found in your pile of books. Fidgeting with the right ring stops. His hands return to the perfectly sensible 9-3 on the wheel. No wild tales, really. I mostly just talk to people. Riveting. What kind of people? Thin bloods, for the most part. I was particularly interested in one called Sana, but mentioning her tends to shut conversations down. Probably because she met her final death 4 years back at the hands of the sheriff, no less. Mm-hmm. Going back to Sana, that is a side quest in the first game, Coteries of New York. She was going insane, to put it mildly, and making for a breach in Masquerade by draining people dry because of her hunger. And we could either hand her over to this Valerie, or we could hand over the Thin Blood Primogen in order to let Sana get away from the city. So I'm guessing us handing over Sana was the canonical choice. Kadir? Wow, she must have really stirred the pot. Well, she did go on a mortal killing spree, but I am not one to judge whether or not the punishment fit the crime. Honestly, in this case, I am leaning more towards just going nor am I, because, well, if you are going on a feeding spree, and you leave behind a lot of dried up bodies, while writing on walls something out of Bram Stoker's Dracula, that tends to attract a lot of unwanted attention. Well, I know a thing or two about walking the line between right and wrong, so I don't think I'm in any place to judge her either. Still, what pushed her to do it? He hesitates again. Why so secretive about a thin blood going rogue? She claimed she was acting under orders from Kagan, urging her to kill. My eyebrow shoots up, waiting for him to continue. He allegedly told Sana the end of the world is nigh, and somehow that devolved into a killing spree. Well, you know what they say. It's not the end yet, but you can see it just over the horizon. And she never questioned why the creator of our whole species would specifically choose her, just straight up went on a rampage. For some reason, this perfectly innocent remark really gets on his nerves. Look, I'm just telling you what I've heard. I never met Sana myself. I just found her condition fascinating. Hey, no need to get worked up. I glanced at your research notes. I know you're really into the inner voices stuff. I'm not judging, it's just... We can end this conversation anytime you want. Really. It's just that you have some really niche hobbies, you know? May I interest you in, dunno, crocheting or something? It's a lot less intense than chasing crazies. The kindred might not need air. But Patrick's sigh so profoundly probably echoes into the very afterlife, or whichever else Sana went after meeting her final death. I'm not sure what I expected from an anarch outpost in one of the most densely populated cities in the America. Maybe a sewer hideaway sitting right next to the local rats. Maybe a few Prohibition-era cellars linked by a web of secret corridors. Maybe even a chaotic squat in a dilapidated brownstone. But a grimy auto repair shop with a bold red sign proudly declaring it's Mato's place? That definitely wasn't on my list. Are you sure this is the spot? I can ask for directions or something. Ouch. The silent treatment. Patrick parks carefully, checking the side mirrors to see if he's aligned perfectly with the curb. Finally, with a satisfied nod, he turns the engine off. Let's go. And he gets out of the car just like that. I follow, of course, not because he told me to, but well, hanging solo in a car at night gets real boring real fast. Even with Queen D-do-daying in the background. Mato, are you there? I fully expect company, but I still flinch when a huge, burly kindred, quieter than a mouse, steps out of the shadows. His grime-covered arms are all set to give Patrick, a bear hug. But he stops himself at the very last moment, either from plain common sense or because I'm here. Patty, looking good, my man. What can I do you for? Maybe to take a look at that old clunker of yours? Patty? Clunker? Oh, this is gonna be good. I grin at Patty expectantly, only to be met with his gaze full of discontent. Also, that is certainly louder than I expected. Let me double check on audio. Maybe turn it down a little bit. And yeah, I hear you. We're gonna be finishing up soon enough. My clunker is in top shape, thank you, Mato. Besides, I can see you are rather busy tonight. Still, I hoped you would have a moment for a few questions, though. It won't take long. Mato erupts into laughter, patting Patty on the shoulder with a hand as big as a dinner plate. What is it with you? I guess we're gonna go with music volume then. Like so. An immortal would get pulverized by a friendly little pat like that. This gentle giant is truly something else. Anything for you, my man? And speaking of, who is this you brought? Mata's gaze cuts right through me, his hawkish eyes surprisingly cool and sharp despite his rugged exterior. A split second passes before I realize he's sizing me up and that I'm coming up short. Mato probably wouldn't spare me a second glance if it weren't for Patrick. Mato, meet Kali. She's in a bit of a situation with the Ivory Tower. You see, well, to put it short, her execution is on hold provided she delivers the council her sire's head on a silver platter. Mato lets out a long whistle, his eyes gaining a touch of warmth and, dare I say, grudging respect. Damn, what's your sire accused of? That's kind of what we're trying to piece together. Ever come across a lick who goes by Reynard Castle? Reynard, huh? Can't say it rings a bell. What's his deal? Blood trade, among other things. Patrick says it quietly, sharply, with no hesitation, and I swear I see a bit of VtM drain from Mato's face. He almost drops a dirty rag he's been fiddling with ever since we got here. A tense silence fills the air, stretching like an endless rubber band. Thankfully, just as I'm a second away from blurting out some nonsense to break it, Mato speaks up. I left that shit behind, man. You know that. I know. Believe me, we're not here to dredge up the past. We just need a direction, nothing more, nothing less. Surely there's someone who's still in the loop. Someone who might have heard some rumors. Let's also do something like that. Mato falls silent, avoiding Patrick's eyes. Internally, I'm giving Patrick a standing ovation. I mean, I'm well aware I've misjudged my caitiff caretaker, but damn if he's not a wire puller. Maybe he could even teach me a thing or two. I get it, it's a difficult situation for you, but I was really hoping you could help me out here. You know, I would not hesitate to reciprocate as I have in the past. Yeah, I know. He seems more resigned than irritated, but still refuses to speak. Eyes downcast, body language borderline deer in headlights. There must be some juicy history between those two, and I make sure to remember that into info for later. Patrick shoots me a quick look, but before he can double down on the guilt tripping, I flash my most charming grin and step forward. You see, I've only known Paddy here for what, a single night? Turns out that's more than enough to figure out he's pretty good at killing the vibe when he puts his mind to it. That earns me an outraged glare from the caitiff, which I cheerfully ignore, and an unexpected chuckle from Mato. I count my blessings and push on. Look, I don't know the first thing about you. The whole blood trade drama or whatever, that's none of my business. I'm not about to dig in your dirt. Survival's the game we're all playing, right? Throwing a Reynard quote out there is kind of cheap, but it tends to work like a charm. So I'll back off. Plus, I'm in a spot where I really can't afford to have anyone else in this town be pissed off at me. Yeah, gotcha. It's just that no one needs to spell it out for me. Gnarly pasts are sort of my thing, you know? Let's just drop the whole shebang, alright? He nods hesitantly, and I'm not sure if he caught on to my attempt to win him over. I really hope he didn't, because I have already scanned his workshop and caught a bait or two I can feed him to keep him on the hook. And this is the point where we save and where we end it for the night. So, taking all this into account, Carmine, what are your impressions of the game so far?
Hmm. Well, it's definitely interesting, but I'm uh, kind of unsure how much freedom of choice does the player actually have.
Hmm. Well, I'm sure there's going to be some major choice or two down the line, even if we're being a little bit railroaded at the beginning.
Mm.
Now, taking all of that into account, I'd also like to extend my invitation to tomorrow's stream. Since tomorrow we'll be going over another game that you've probably heard about called Hard West.
I have actually not.
Then it's gonna be a learning experience for you because I remember watching a playthrough of it way back in the day. It's a pretty good game, all things considered. I hope you'll enjoy it. For now, however, I would like to thank you for coming, and I will see you all tomorrow night. Peace out.
Thanks for the stream.
And thank you for coming.